Hey everyone, it's Gamma. It's been a minute. Sorry for that. I've sort of been putting a lot more. I say a lot more. I've been having a lot more go on at work at the minute, and I didn't want to sort of half-ass making a video because work is sort of like my priority at the minute. With my phase return, I'm like gradually increasing the time that I'm at work each week. Sort of as my stamina goes up and I start to feel a little bit better, and I don't want to jeopardize that by making content on here that I'm not happy with, and then that having sort of the follow-on effect of making my performance at work bad. So I feel like I've got time to make a video. It's not usually when I do it, but I just wanted to have I guess a brief conversation about something that I guess I've been thinking a bit more about recently. So I talk occasionally about milestones, and a couple of days ago it was the 2-year anniversary of when I was diagnosed, which something that struck me about it was I realised that I hadn't been keeping track of it, and that was definitely a bit of a surprise. With some other things, so the date of my surgery, it's a lot easier to track. I think there are a lot stronger memories associated with it, in terms of like the physical difficulties of like the pain following surgery, the intense anxiety leading up to it, and I was already weak from treatment by that point. That, and I went in for surgery on my youngest brother's birthday, and it was also Halloween, so all of these things sort of make it slightly easier to remember anyway. But when it comes to getting diagnosed, it's slightly different. I remember a lot of what went on quite vividly. I've said before, there was the anxiety of not knowing what was going on sort of right up until I had my diagnosis, and then I was, as I said before, filled with this weird sense of calm that I used to propel myself through quite a big section of treatment. The uncertainty, but overall, I like to think I've made some progress in the sense that it's not on my mind constantly, and I think the fact that I almost I didn't remember that it had been 2 years, I think is on some level a good thing, because I think it demonstrates that I'm moving towards a point where the memory of illness and the memory of treatment maybe isn't having like such a stranglehold on my perception of things. Like, I'm not always thinking about things through the context of being someone who's in remission, which I think as a defense mechanism is something I do lean on occasionally. I maybe use it as an enabler for when I feel insecure about things and I don't want to do things. I might sometimes lean on that. Or when I fail at things, I kind of forget that it's okay not to do things right the first time, or occasionally not to do something right at all. Like, you can't get the hand of everything. But I think I've neglected to remember that it's okay to not quite get things right. As a healthy individual who hasn't had these experiences, it's perhaps leaning on my experiences as sort of it's like a coping mechanism. I don't think it's always helpful, and I don't think I ever did it like too much. I just think I found it too easy to do when I did, and I think that taking this step away in myself from that part of my history maybe is a positive step towards reclaiming a bit more of my, I guess, character or identity. That's a better one. But yeah, when I was reminded of the milestone, it made me go back and reminisce about the things that did happen. Like I say, I remember it quite vividly, and it sort of drew me to the topic that I guess is sort of the centerpiece of this video, which is actually a chronicle. It's not sort of like my random off-topic videos. I say that no video is completely useless, or at least that's not the intention. I don't just make filler content. I do my video game stuff occasionally. I haven't done it in a little while, just sort of to break it up, so people who who visit this for content and maybe watch 1 or 2 videos. Like if they watch more than one, there's something there to maybe break up the intensity of it. But this one's actually intended to be a chronicle. And I wanted to talk about friendship. And I've spoken a fair bit about relationships before. I don't think they've been given their own chronicle yet, but that's probably something on the horizon. But I think I'm more inclined to talk about friendships because there's, I suppose, a greater variety of experiences to talk to and different outcomes. Like I was very lucky in the sense that when it came to my relationship, that the experience of cancer almost strengthened it, and it validated the integrity of it. Hence, we live together now and we're engaged. We were very lucky there, and I'd argue on some level that I don't want to say cancer did us any good, but I think it's, if you can get through that, you can get through anything. Whereas with friendships, it's not a unanimous experience. I've historically been someone who's been able to meet quite an extensive variety of really lovely and varied people. I think that's one of the things I'm most grateful for. Not necessarily all people I keep in touch with now, but over the years, I've met quite a lot of people, and a lot of them are still my friends to this day. And everyone who's close to me was affected in a unique way when they found out about my illness, and my illness flavoured interactions that I was yet to have with people I hadn't met yet, and I've met since I finished my treatment. It makes it different than it would be if I hadn't. And some people deal with it better than others. So my best friend Freddie, there was never a moment throughout the process where I thought, I wonder if he's going to freak out and sort of disappear or sort of have a wobble when he finds out that I'm not well. He and several other of my friends that I'm close with were very quick to offer their support and any assistance in whatever way they can. It's one of those problems where you want to help, but other than support and those sort of, I don't want to say immaterial, but like, it's not like they could help with the treatment itself or the recovery, because none of us could really figure it out. It was all a process of sort of trial and error with medications and seeing what worked, but that support was what got me through some of the worst days. So it was all I really needed from them. And we were friends then, we were friends throughout treatment. Like I say, it was one of my primary supports. Fred used to come to the chemo centre and play Magic the Gathering with me, which I imagine must have been very frustrating with my memory and cognitive issues at the time. Fred, if you're watching, it's probably the only way you can win. I'm joking. I'm not really. No, and then afterwards, it strengthened our relationship, and it just adds sort of another context to it. I don't consider people like Fred to be a friend. I consider him to be family. I've known Fred for over 10 years. And then from that, similarly, there are people who my friendship developed throughout my treatment, or I don't want to say as a result of, but it was perhaps sort of the kindling that sort of sparked it or kept it or exacerbated it. Exacerbated has a negative connotation, but you know what I mean. Like my friend Daniel, who I started to... Sorry, I keep knocking the camera. I know it's got like anti-shake in it, but if it is wobbling, then that's my fault for leaning on my desk. Yeah, my friend Daniel, we started speaking a lot more as a result of me being away, having more time and doing treatment, and his concern for my well-being. And that's evolved into one of my closest friendships that I have now. I mean, we're going on holiday together this year, provided that we're actually allowed, but we're planning on doing a local trip with some of my friends, which I'm very much looking forward to. We're going camping surrounded by llamas, like at this llama farm. We're just going camping, so that should be fun, and I'll probably do a video there because I can't not do that. yeah, so, cancer in a way sort of enabled that friendship to develop even further. And then there are friends that I gained after the fact who I knew were such good friends because of their perceptiveness and, no, I say conscientiousness, like they understood my situation, they understood that I find certain things more difficult, and they're supportive, they help me with things, they offer help, they provide me with like the necessary allowances, like when we're out they let me stop when I get out, when I get out of breath, and those sorts of things. But on the flip side of that, we can just have a good time together without my recent history colouring every interaction we have. So like my friends James and Andy and Hannah, who I hadn't met since, but I was a very different person coming out of treatment, and there's that insecurity of, am I a person that I'm still comfortable with being, and is this a person that other people are going to be okay being around, because I'm different in a myriad of ways, and I have these new struggles that I carry with all the time. So being pleasantly surprised, because when you meet people, you get that sense like these are good people. But I think it's just very affirming in a friendship when you meet people and you can maintain a normal friendship, but they're supportive of your situation. I feel like it's just one of those things that brings you closer to people, and it makes you even more grateful for the friendships that you do have. I think on the flip side of everything I speak about at the moment, there's friendships that don't quite work out, and I don't want to... there are friendships also that carry through all the way, like the people at work who supported me. I think that brought us even closer together. I think it's one of those things where, like, social workers I speak to, I think one of their concerns are always about work, and they have the expectation that some industries and some companies aren't offering people who are all the support that they need. But I said many a time, like, my company was tremendously supportive in it, and it brought me closer to all the people that I work with, to the point where I would say that some of these people aren't just colleagues, they are genuine, they're not just work friends, they're genuine friends. But on the flip side of that, there were people who I would have said before were friends, and I would say aren't so much now. And I don't think there's any hostility there. I think there are unique factors there. I guess the simplest of which is, and it's a hard reality that I had to face, and it was something that I had to work through while I was doing my treatment, and that's that even though we're kind of stuck, there's a whole lot going on, but in terms of the things that we were up to before, your education, your professional development, all of these things, even though we get stuck, the rest of the world keeps moving, and with that, people continue to develop, they achieve things, they meet new people, and to an extent, it's never that they outgrow us, it's that they're simply living their life, and there isn't always time or space to always give that consideration to somebody who you either don't necessarily know how to approach, or you don't know how to deal with them anymore. And I think it's very easy to feel resentment over that. I know I did for a long time over some people who, when I was ill, either immediately disappeared, or over time that friendship couldn't be maintained and it was fizzled out. But when I sort of add that layer of hindsight, I understand that they were just living their lives, and you can't expect the whole world to stop just because we've had to. It's, if that were the case, we'd have done nothing since the first person ever died. Everything has to keep moving, and that's something that I think a lot of people doing treatment struggle with. And a year out since finishing treatment, I think I would say there's nothing wrong with being slightly behind. There's always people who are further behind in their career development or education. There are always people who are further ahead, and with that there are always people who are at the same level with you. So that just provides more opportunities to meet more people and share experiences. And at the same time, like I say, it can add an extra layer of benefit to your existing relationships, providing that these are people that are willing to understand and work with you on it. The people I started my apprenticeship with, I'm still firm friends with now, even though they're a year ahead of me. It doesn't factor. As much as I worried it would, it doesn't factor. And it can hurt. Like I say, there are friends who disappeared practically overnight when I got ill, or there are people who couldn't maintain the relationship due to whatever reasons that they had. And at the same time, I didn't do a great job of maintaining my relationships. They're still two-way, despite my circumstances. People give you allowances in the sense that you can't do as much, but it's like anything. I kept plants very, very briefly when I was ill in a little pop-up greenhouse that ended up getting blown away in a storm, but I felt too ill and I couldn't be bothered to water them, and they didn't decide we're going to cut him some slack and grow anyway, even though he hasn't given us water. It's not really any different. And I say that to help you understand that there's no bad guy. 99.9% of the time, there's no bad guy. It's just people living their lives and falling out of touch, and something like cancer and the treatment that you take to get better from it, it makes things like that a lot worse. But like I say, that's opened the doors to new friendships. So some people I did treatment with, or I met through support groups that I'm friends with now, and potentially working on new projects with at the minute. It's not. I think as much as easy as it is to look at cancer as the end of all things, it's very hard to think of it as something that could create new opportunities. But as long as you look in the right places, I think it definitely does. And I think that's something to hold on to and maybe keep at the centre of yourself when things do start to get difficult. I think that's all I wanted to say about it. There'll be a new video after this soon. I hope that was a good one. I'm aware it has been a little while, but my emphasis is on creating meaningful content rather than just creating it. So I'm hoping that this one was good. Feel free to leave a comment, a like. Any sort of engagement is beneficial, or to reach out to the Gamma Stories Instagram page. I've got a couple of ideas for videos that should be out in the near future, and I'm looking forward to making those and sharing them with you. So in general, I hope you have a really good rest of the day, and I look forward to seeing you again. So take care, everyone.